And LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation, welcome to another episode of Value First AI Daily, your collaborative AI intelligence report. It is Thursday, December 18th, 2025. Nico, another day, another model. How are you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, another day, another new model. Not new, but the offset. So obviously we got the Gemini 3 release earlier this month, and not to be outdone by itself per se, Gemini 3 Flash releases yesterday. And the crazy part to me, and this is something that we've been talking about for a minute, the crazy part to me is that it is better than Gemini 3 Pro. Like, in a lot of ways, it's better than Gemini 3 Pro. But the cost on it is so infinitesimal. I mean, like it shames other model costs. That's what blew me away. Like the most, like, two things. Just the cost to benefit ratio of this model is definitely a glimpse into the future of like where things are going in terms of like abundance and end user capability at zero cost. And I mean, already, like, we're so near zero cost develop. I mean, like, it pretty much is, right? You're able to use these models for free to start developing software. So we're in a zero cost development environment, and now it's just getting better. Like, I don't think that it clicks for people enough that every time you talk shit, in another month or two, you won't be able to talk shit anymore. It's the case of when you see something and you're saying to yourself, well, that's kind of all right, but it's not the greatest. You should be noting to yourself instead, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll bet you 2 to 3 months from now, it's going to be awesome. That's the attitude shift that you need to make. You need to make the shift from, oh, it's all right, but it's not that great. And, it should be able to do more than what it's doing, to, oh, wow, those features are, they're at an infant level. But I remember when GPT-3 was out, and now it's just magnanimously different. So I can only imagine what's going to happen to this thing. Reason I say that is because, like, I, I didn't really, I know, I try not to buy into the hype whenever people, just because something releases and then immediately everybody, oh, game changer and it's the greatest, and oh my gosh, this is the end of GPT. So I try not to buy into that, and instead to like um do my own, like, sort of testing and analyses, to see how things work, uh and like how much better they are, or if they are as good as everybody says they are. And yeah, I gotta say, uh Gemini 3 Flash is, it's extremely impressive for, and so, like, why is it so impressive to me? Because it's Flash. It's a tiny model. And if you guys remember, like, maybe a year ago, me and Chris were talking about the fact that small language models aren't really a thing. They weren't then, but now they're starting to creep a bit. And the amount of power that these small language models are putting out, as evidenced by Flash, is even greater than the large language models. Now, I can very much guarantee that because of the fact that Flash beat out Pro in coding and logic based puzzles, and it even beat it on humanity's last exam. Like, the benchmark smashing that this little guy did, and the fact that it's on par with 3 Pro, with 5.2 GPT, with 4.5 Opus. It's on par. A tiny ass model is on par with the largest frontier models. I don't know what Flash is trained on. I would guesstimate that it's at least less than 500 billion parameters. We're talking about a model it's got to be. I mean, for a light model, it's probably less than 100. To be honest. So we're talking about something that's anywhere in the ballpark from 100 to most of the small language models, right? Like Llama, they're 8 billion parameter or 20 billion parameter. Some of the downloadable ones, they're like 80 billion parameter. Um, so let's just play nice and say that this is 250 billion parameters, right? It's up against models that are 1.5 trillion. You get it? Like it's up against like big ass models. And it's not dwarfing them, but man, the fact that it's at the same level. And again, the cost to performance ratio on it is insane to me. The fact that you can get that level of performance at, I mean, if you guys have played around with the API for Opus and 5.2, whoo, it's yes, Opus 4.5 way cheaper than Opus 4. I'll give them that much, but still, it's a little bit more than Sonnet 4.5, which if you're doing enough computation, if you're doing enough coding, my god, that burns fast. Um being able to use this model at pennies on the dollar, like tenths of pennies on the dollar for the same level of performance. I mean, it's
I
a
mean,
good.
is that the main value and the main reason why like this three model framework is happening where there's a super fast I mean, that's where I guess the way that they name them differently, um, related to speed or size or complexity,
Mhm.
whatever, like help us think through like why is it important to have why do they stick to this like three drop like per model like framework.
Well, I gotta say that at least with Google, there's a 3-tier system, but you have to be at like the maximum subscription level for the third tier, the max version of stuff. So like there is Google Gemini Pro Max or whatever, or Gemini Pro High, I think, something like that. Um, so yeah, to your point, they do all have uh, 3 tiers. I understand why Gemini Pro High is gated. Um, I know that GPT doesn't like to do the same thing necessarily, and Anthropic doesn't like to do the same thing necessarily. Again, the the idea, which of course the end users probably aren't taking into account, the idea is that you would use the lower parameter models to solve lesser problems, right? Maybe I wouldn't even say Excel formulas. Like you at this point, you are using, genius level shit to pump out an Excel formula. Even if it's like haiku. So like haiku or ChatGPT fast or Gemini fast. It's meant for from a programming perspective, right? It's like pushing out a, a demo model of something or a demo app of something like super fast. And I'm talking about like less than 30 seconds. Um, is it, is the quality going to be amazing? I mean, now with Gemini, yes, but generally it's all right. It's enough to go off of. If we're talking about um, marketing and stuff like that, typically the smaller models also mean that they stay on task a bit better than the larger models do. So larger models, you can think of it almost as overthinking a problem or over engineering the problem, as opposed to the smaller models tend to just look straight on and take things one at a time. The medium sized stuff is pretty much what it sounds like. It's trying to do the best of both worlds. It's trying to apply a little bit of reasoning without overthinking the problem. But once you start getting into the high level reasoning models, now we're talking about it should be a lot of these should be gated, but essentially the high level models, we're talking about researchers like days upon days of researching, we're talking about, you know, almost like near full stack app development. In the case of Claude, I mean, it is actually able to quite literally go further. And the best way I can explain that is the other day I had to garner some information. And so I asked Claude if it was possible to do so. Claude couldn't directly do it, but within the chat window wrote its own Python application to then do it. Now, Haiku wouldn't have done that. Haiku would have just been like, okay, well, I can't do it, but I can give you the code. I can give you the Python for you to be able to put it together to be able to go do it on your own. So there's that limitation. I shouldn't even call it a limitation, but there's sort of that distinction between the two. That one is willing to work longer and harder than the other one as well. So it's on task. Let's say if you were to put Claude Haiku versus Sonnet versus Opus on a particularly difficult task, you could in that order is when they would give up. Haiku would give up first, Sonnet would give up second, and Opus would probably go for hours before it actually gave up on the problem. So yeah, I would say that the difference, low to high, is very much related to how difficult is the problem that you're trying to solve. Is it something that's fairly minuscule and should have a very quick, easy answer, or is it something that needs to be thought about for quite some time, right? And you can take that from, at least in GPT's terms, you can go from high-end model to answer a singular question to high-end model research or high-end model agent or high-end model whatever it is you want to do, right? Um, yeah, I think that's the major difference. And again, to see something, and like, so it's crazy to me because Fast doesn't, like, Gemini 3 Fast doesn't have as much reasoning, nowhere near as much reasoning behind it as the other models. Um, well, at least at the
Right.
other models at max level, right? So it is very, very interesting to me to see a post-trained model that is able to perform like that without having to have that much like reasoning behind it. It just
Yeah.
it kind of opens the doors. The other day I said I'm pulling everything forward by 2 years. I'm glad that I did, because like this kind of breakthrough is just like, okay, well, this is nuts. Like we're going to start seeing, we've already gotten 5.2. I'm assuming we're going to see like chat 5.5 or something for Christmas, or maybe even 6, who knows. Um would they jump
Yep.
the gun that much just to stay ahead of the pack?
There's talk
Like,
of Sonnet, like the next Sonnet,
I mean,
trying to hit
Sonnet
before the
5
end of the
would
year.
be crazy. That would be
I
crazy to me.
saw a Reddit leak post about 4.7 for Christmas.
I could
Um,
see that.
we'll see. Just to like, that's the interesting part about, I guess the positive part about the how stuff works in the U.S.
Mhm.
Is them driving each other to just like compete. Um, but I'm gonna share my screen real quick, uh, and because like this conversation about um, which level to use
Mhm.
just doesn't. You can see my screen, yeah.
Yes.
Just doesn't jive with the way that I want to collaborate,
I
right?
was doing the exact same thing. I had like 3 up basically on my app.
And like this idea of if we've got fast here, answers quickly, thinking solves complex problems. Pro thinks longer for advanced math and code.
Mhm.
Like I want advanced like conversations where I don't have to like remind of everything and I know the context is coming with it. Um, and I think that's why if we go over here to Claude, it says most capable for complex work, best for everyday tasks, fastest for quick answers. Whenever I've tried to like use the faster models, like I'm never one and done, right? So like
Mhm.
as soon as it goes into a bigger conversation, I'm like, oh man, I
Should
should
have
have
used the other one.
used the other model. That's why it's been very hard to get out of Opus 4.5, um,
Mhm.
with thinking like always on. It's because I know I'm very likely to have a continuing conversation where we're adding attachments and context is shifting throughout. Um, and when I've turned that off, even thinking within Opus 4.5, it's like there's a difference in the output. Um,
So I've
so
started like I can fully understand that, and I know exactly where you're coming from, but I have started I don't know, I guess projectizing, I guess, conversations. So to your point, like if I start with haiku or sonnet and I'm doing something blah blah blah, and then it becomes semi meaningful, but I'm worried about model choice, then I'll just push it into a project, like create a project for it, and then after I'm in there, just start using the other model, reference the previous conversation, and like keep it going in that regard. Because that was one limitation that like I kept running into too, is like, okay, I don't want every problem to be solved with thinking, only because again, it might like over engineer the answer that I need as opposed to just giving me the straight answer. So I definitely flick back and forth between having thinking on and having it off with 4.5. Oh man, Gemini's gonna rip this out so quickly.
meanwhile, I just got surprised by it'll show
Oh,
up when I open the screen, but yeah, this is something that like the speed, right? Like is
yeah.
crazy, and there's integrity here. Like, um, yeah, and this is one of those cases where like one time I like Claude suggested he could make a picture. Like, all right, give it a go, right? And it's like, okay, no, just give me the prompt. I'll go over to Gemini, and then we'll get a real picture going. So, still understanding the limitations, but um, not to steal the thunder, but to steal the thunder. Uh, I just have you seen this switch? I did not see this yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. To go from chat to code,
Yeah,
that is really
um,
nice.
and like because I've been working out of the IDE anti gravity,
Hmm.
and I can't get past a problem. Won't connect with my Google account for some reason. So all I can use is the little IDE part and not all the fancy bells and whistles of anti gravity.
Wow.
And so naturally, now that this is an option here, I'm going to see what this is all about at some point. Um, but yeah, man, uh, speed, speed, speed in all the ways.
It's
Um,
I gotta tell you, it is very very refreshing. Um, and yeah, I mean like so I gave the same prompt to Gemini, Flash, and 5.2. Gemini's already done, and it looks really good for what it is. Claude is still going, and GPT hasn't even started yet. It's still in planning mode and like serious planning mode, almost like it's never going to stop planning or something. Um,
have you noticed the auto next steps from Cloud Code?
uh,
I
no,
just
not yet.
started yesterday,
Oh,
um, where uh, yeah, um, I'll show after this is done running. But basically, it'll like preload the next line in the command line,
oh, so it's like a
a-
code hint
a-
type thing.
and you can just hit enter, and it
Yep.
was like 80% of the time I was doing that yesterday,
Right, because
right?
it can like that's the thing is if you gosh, I don't know because I'm not that great with this stuff, but it's like if you set up a front end or something like it's just a web UI or something like that, it's just HTML. and then like you want to go deeper than that, right? It will it will do that, right? And then what's interesting about it is that before it was asking and it was saying like, "Hey, you did this, and you want to do logins. Do you want to start setting up a backend?" Right? And yeah, to your point, if that's now just the next
Yeah.
thing,
And it still
that's
does that, but then it pre-selects the option that it suggests
yep.
in the text above, and I'm like, "Yep." And I was like, first time I was like, "Am I really just hitting enter here? Like, is that how easy this is getting?"
I mean, should it be more difficult than that?
Right.
Right? Like
Yeah.
people keep
Or you
asking
can
me all
tab.
the time about that. Like, oh, but the job becomes too easy, or like, what's the point of learning coding or something like that? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know what the point of it is either. Like, it's weird to me because it's just something that gets in the way of the end product to me. Like, it's not something that's like, oh shit, like it
Good
was
morning,
so worth
Christine.
learning all this, right?
Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Christine, what's happening? Oh my gosh. Um, awesome, awesome individual. And
Yeah. This is the learning curve, right? This is the real learning curve right now. Like which model to use in which situation. Um, because the difference between, oh, let me just show somebody real quick what I mean
mhm,
versus let me get a working version up that's gonna um, follow the prompt to a T. Like the difference between one sentence prompt outcomes and like give me a comprehensive prompt with all of the specs and now I need you to hit them all exactly,
right.
right? Is when I mean, even now, like if the instructions are pretty good, I mean, fast, the smaller models, that's what they're designed to do.
Mhm.
I think is if complexity has been removed and they can remove complexity on their side, they don't. You don't have to think. Like you get out of that thinking mode where, like, no, don't think about it because then you'll get off track. I mean, again, just like humans. Um, and this is an interesting
I
display
mean,
that we're seeing
yeah,
here
like
right now.
to me it's crazy. Like, and I'm not even joking. Like Gemini was done a while ago. Like
Yeah. Like,
so
by the
much.
time I shared the screen, like
It was pretty much right after I hit enter. I wish I was joking. It took like maybe 15 seconds and it did this, right? Now again, it's not as good as Opus 4.5, but like Opus 4.5 with thinking and all, right? Like that's what it's up against in terms of like how well did this come out by comparison.
and it's like
Um,
10, 20, maybe 100x the cost,
right,
right?
right. That's the biggest thing is like, okay, you got this, but it cost you like, yeah, exactly. It cost about 100x, right? 5.2 is still going. The odds that this thing is going to be done soon. And it's not even, this is just on auto. That's not even on thinking. Like I didn't even force it to do anything, right? So that's the thing with OpenAI is like, I applaud you guys for every time that you say that your models are just like excellent at coding. I'm not trying to say that they're not, and I'm not trying to say that they're bad at it or something or whatever. It's just I don't know. Like they
In
really
your
do. Like
lane, bro.
they overthink the shit out of it. They over engineer the hell out of it, and I think it has a lot to do with GPT trying to guess what it is that you're going to want, basically, and trying to put that in ahead of time, essentially, like give you options that maybe you didn't even ask for. Um, even the code amount is no, it's not. I don't think it's more than what Claude came up with, but it's definitely close. Yeah, it's definitely close. So that's the other aspect, right? For Opus to be able to push out that much code that quickly. But that that was the other thing I was reading about this morning. So Claude did nearly the same thing at 1,300 lines,
Yeah.
and Gemini Fast did it in 366. Can you imagine if I give Gemini Fast like a few more things, like a few more instructions or whatever, in under 1,000 lines, I'm very sure in under 1,000, it will get to the same level as Claude Code. And that's kind of the point, really, for me, is you can get this level of complexity from this cheap model in like one quarter or one sixth of the time. So even the time that it took to get this from Claude, I think you could have prompted it into Flash and gotten it to the same level, right? Like, I mean, now
Yep.
knowing what it is, this show will end before GPT will finish. Like, this is sad. This is really sad.
Yeah.
Elon thinks about Gemini.
I do think,
Yeah.
man, if OpenAI wasn't first out of the gate, they would be in serious trouble right now. I think
Oh yeah.
because they were first out of the gate, they've got the user base, right?
Mhm.
And this is all in context of Google has always had the user base, so it's
Right.
like their game to lose. But to be on the island, I don't know, it's gonna be super interesting, because they've kind of chosen to not niche, I think,
Mhm.
and that's why, I think that's why Anthropic is able to, uh they're seemingly on secure footing because of the way they've gone to market and focused on. Because I remember, like, hearing them say, like, "No, we're gonna focus on, like, coding, like, that's where we're gonna be the best," and I was like, "Oh," I got sad about what could happen to chat, like, "You're not gonna keep developing, like, the part I like?" And that's not true either. It's just, like, being able to prioritize in that way, it would be hard for me to pick out like what other than being available to as many people as possible with frontier models, what is the priority for OpenAI? Like,
I
and
think
that could be the priority. That's what I've heard, said. But like, as far as output, like, does that mean they'll never have the highest quality output in any one specific domain?
I think for now, so far as I can tell, which is kind of odd because Dario was building Claude for this. But so far as I can tell, I think that GPT like excels extremely when it comes to medical and when it comes to like regulatory stuff. So like law, like legal or medical. I think it's really, really good at that. It might be really good at math too. Not entirely sure. Okay, so we went up to 492 on this. Um, it might be really good at it. I can't say for sure.
Failed to generate, you son of a bitch.
What? No. Oh yeah, right. All that time with GPT and still nothing. So
Yeah.
in that time, we got basically a mimicked version of what we have in Claude with the miniature checklists, right? Got SOP library. I didn't even know. I didn't even ask for that.
There we go. All right.
I
Well,
mean,
we're
yeah,
at time. Sorry, Chat GPT. Good good effort. Good effort, buddy.
yeah.
But until tomorrow, everybody have a great day. We'll see you then.